Hey, welcome to another video. So today we're going to be continuing the early years of Darth Vader's rule as a Sith, but before we begin, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, let's jump straight into it. So first, to quote Emperor Palpatine, "The galaxy is vast, Lord Vader. I must rule it from a distance, through proxies, promises, and threats. It is rare that I am able to take a direct hand against my enemies. Those tasks I have left largely to you." Over the next 2 decades of the Empire's reign, Vader would remain one of the few who had direct access to Palpatine. He was Palpatine's preferred envoy for all matters that the Emperor took a direct interest in, with Palpatine forced to spend most of his time governing the galaxy at large. It was Vader who was tasked with taking a direct hand against the Empire's enemies, becoming known as the Emperor's Fist, to both Imperials and eventually criminals. Such matters included the elimination of rebel uprisings and the continued construction of the Death Star. One of Vader's earliest missions on the Emperor's behalf was to effect an execution on Morcana. He was made privy to the secret construction of the Death Star, to be overseen by Grand Moff Tarkin. Vader's high status also gave him the ability to alter Imperial records under the off-the-books Directive 081 Omega. One Imperial captain who served under Vader in the immediate aftermath of the Clone Wars alleged to a later subordinate, ymca, that Vader matured over the years. While during his first days as an Imperial officer, Vader would simply murder out of annoyance. Vader came to wait for a subordinate to commit a mistake, albeit sometimes a small one, to have an excuse to kill. The Imperial officers remained wary of Vader and his power, as well as his continued devotion to the Force, but none rose to challenge him without feeling the consequences. Despite the mistrust and even hatred he generated among the officers, Vader was held in high esteem by the Stormtrooper Corps, as he often fought alongside them at the front line rather than remaining in command centers. As the Emperor's enforcer, Vader retained command of the unit he had commanded during the Clone Wars as Anakin Skywalker, the 501st Legion. When the Emperor retired the clone troopers, the rank and file of the 501st were comprised of recruited stormtroopers, some of whom received training from the Dark Lord himself, such as Sergeant Carole, an undercover agent whom Vader trained in lightsaber combat. Through their missions on Vader's behalf, the 501st became known as Vader's Fist. On one occasion, the stormtrooper T-Rex met Vader, becoming terrified of him while also respecting him. Vader also garnered strong support from the pilots of the new Imperial Navy. A young officer named Enric Pride personally saw Vader in combat at one point. At some point, Vader was deployed to put down resistance on the mineral-rich world of Bandamir, where miners were fighting back against Imperial exploitation. Vader punished them for their rebellion. Apparitions of Vader and other Darksiders were once faced by surviving Jedi Vanzel Marklaw and Nedris Nar, who attempted to train a new generation of younglings after Order 66. Having killed Tambor along with the rest of the Separatist Council during his mission on Mustafar, Vader was also dispatched to Skato Minor to kill the Techno-Union Foreman's remaining loyalists by wiping out the planet's ruling council. Massacring the council officials, including Tambor's son, Wat Tambor II, Vader established a new Imperial loyal regime on the planet, which also fell under Imperial occupation. Around 17 BBY, during the early Imperial era, around 2 years after the skirmish aboard the Tribunal during Order 66, Vader traveled to the snowy moon that was home to the crash site of the Venator-class Star Destroyer. Investigating the wreckage with a contingent of stormtroopers, Vader discovered a memorial to the clone company that perished in the crash, as well as a lightsaber, partially frozen but still functional, that once belonged to his former apprentice, Ahsoka Tano. Igniting the lightsaber's blue blade, Vader heard a squeaking sound and turned his head to the sky, where he saw a strange bird soaring through the air. Deep down in his heart, he realized his former Padawan was alive, but he lacked any concrete proof, and did not sense her presence. As such, he assumed to himself that she may have died, thereby closing the painful memories she represented, despite deep down realizing she had to be alive. After gazing at the bird for a moment, Vader deactivated the lightsaber and turned away from the crash site with the saber in hand. his image reflected in an abandoned clone trooper helmet. Around 15 BBY, Vader and his men fought against the Banathi in wild space. The Imperial Army consisted of at least several thousand stormtroopers, AT-AT walkers, AT-STs, TIE fighters, and TIE bombers. While thousands died on both sides, Vader managed to kill the king of Banathi. Vader ordered his troops to attack, and despite the high amount of casualties, he did not retreat. The attacking force was only stopped by a Zillo beast. The Banathi saw as their god. However, Vader managed to subdue the Banathi anyways. 5 years after the age of the Empire, Vader, while meditating aboard the Perilous, was informed by Captain Lewitt of an attack on Yaga Minor shipyards. The attack had been staged by several dozen members of the Free Ryloth movement, a primarily Twi'lek insurgency intent on liberating their home world from the rule of the Empire. The insurgents hijacked an Imperial weapons transport, and Vader led a squadron of V-Wing starfighters in pursuit. After a long chase, during which the transport fled through hyperspace to several different systems, its engines overloaded when attempted to make yet another jump, and Vader's squadron was finally able to engage it. The squadron brought down the transport shields with minimal casualties, while Vader crippled the engines. Though the squadron commander suggested allowing the Perilous to tractor the transport into one of its hangar bays when it arrived, Vader assumed correctly that the insurgents planned to destroy the transport by detonating the heavy ordnance present in the ship's cargo bays. In order to prevent this eventuality, Vader crashed his black ETA-2 Actis-class light interceptor into one of its gun bubbles and ejected just before the collision. He then entered the ship through the damaged gun emplacement and proceeded to kill all of the insurgent Twi'leks on the ship. After eliminating the insurgent leader Phonk, Vader noticed an active comlink on the bridge. Assuming that another rebel ship was nearby, Vader had its V-Wings fan out in a search pattern, but the rebel ship escaped its detection by shutting down nearly all of its systems and hiding in the rings of a nearby planet. Finding nothing, Vader had the Perilous collect the transport and return to Coruscant. In the Imperial Palace, Vader reunited with his master. There, he and Sidious met with Ryloth Senator Orn Freytah, involving the inconvenience that was the Free Ryloth movement. The movement, though relatively minor, had been conducting raids on Imperial shipping facilities and transports and had seriously impacted the flow of spice from the planet. As such, Sidious believed that the situation warranted his personal attention, and decided that he, Ta, and Vader would travel to Ryloth for a state visit. After informing the senator of the planned journey and dismissing him, Sidious informed his apprentice that Ta almost certainly had a traitor in the midst of his support staff, who was feeding the movement classified information on Imperial doings. Though Vader understood his master's purpose in acting as bait alongside himself and Ta, he saw no reason why the Emperor should potentially risk his own safety over such a minor issue. Rather, Vader advocated for simply killing Ta and his entire staff, thereby guaranteeing the elimination of the traitor. However, Sidious wished to eliminate the roots of the treachery, and not simply the lone traitor in Ta's staff. To that end, Sidious gave the order to Moff Delian Mors to be informed that Ta would be arriving for a state visit, but stipulated that she should not be told that either he or Vader would be accompanying the senator. In this way, Sidious hoped to provide further encouragement for the movement to attack, so he assumed that they would discover his and Vader's plans via their spies. 10 days later, Vader, the Emperor, Ta, and a contingent of royal guards journeyed to the Ryloth system aboard the Perilous. While traveling from Coruscant to Ryloth, the Emperor ordered the Perilous to stop in the Denim system to consult with several Navy chiefs on how to better integrate disparate naval academies into one Imperial Naval Academy. The Emperor ordered Vader to oversee a training session conducted by Commandant Pel Balo on the Defiance while the Emperor met with his naval chiefs in Balo's office on the training ship. It was during this training session that Vader began to believe that Sidious was treating him much the same way the Jedi Council had previously, acting as if he knew better, keeping information from Vader, giving him busy work. Balo ordered the Defiance to enter hyperspace on a court for Christophsis. Cadet Ray Sloan entered the coordinates, only to have her hyperspace path overridden by Balo, who said she was going to send them too close to a singularity. Sloane studied the path, suspecting that Balo was incorrect in his adjustment. Vader and Sloane discovered that the changed hyperspace route would crash the Defiance into Christophsis' sun, killing all aboard. Vader ordered Sloane to correct the problem, and without revealing that he knew of Balo's treachery, Vader and Balo went to see the Emperor. The Emperor ordered Balo to turn over command of the Defiance and take a position at the training center on Corellia. Balo, however, was loyal to the Republic and considered the Empire hostile power. Instead of turning over his command, Balo offered his resignation from the Navy. Vader then revealed he knew of Balo's plan to crash the Defiance, and the Emperor congratulated Vader for handling the petty problem annoying him. As Balo rallied against the Emperor, Vader force-choked him to death, drawing ire from the Empire, who had wished to see Balo suffer and force him to watch his beloved Navy be turned into something he hated, and the Defiance be melted down into cafeteria trays. After all, he wanted to use Balo for his own ambitions, since the old man was willing to kill his own students for a cause. Vader tried to explain that his way was more efficient, but the Emperor wanted to hear nothing of it, as he did not order him to kill Balo. Later, he ordered Sloane to have the Defiance renamed the Obedience, as a subtle final jab at Balo, and a not-so-subtle reminder towards Vader to learn his place. So, do you guys think after a few years of being a Sith, Vader became more mature in terms of executing his anger in a more controlled way? Or do you think he's still as impulsive as he was as Anakin Skywalker? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you haven't already, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.